Don't forget to like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to stay updated with our latest stories. The air was starting to cool, that specific way it does on a late spring evening in Ohio, carrying the scent of cut grass and the faint, sweet smell of popcorn from the concession stand that had closed an hour ago. Most of the other parents and grandparents had already packed up their folding chairs and coolers, their voices fading down the gravel path towards the parking lot. Leo, my grandson, bless his energetic heart, was still running drills with a couple of his teammates, their laughter echoing under the tall stadium lights that hummed overhead, casting long, distorted shadows across the now empty baseball field. I leaned against the chain link fence near the dugout, my tote bag heavy on my shoulder, filled with Leo's water bottle, a stray shin guard, and the slightly sticky remnants of a fruit roll-up. It had been a long practice, but seeing the joy on his face made it worth every minute. He'd snagged a fly ball today, a real dive and tumble catch that had earned him cheers. My chest still felt puffed up with pride for him. Coach Miller, Mark, as he insisted the adults call him, finally blew the whistle, a sharp, clear sound that cut through the evening air. "All right, boys, hit the showers. Great work today." He clapped a few of the kids on the back as they jogged, sweaty and grinning, towards the clubhouse. Mark wasn't much older than my own son, maybe mid-30s, with kind eyes and a seriousness about coaching these 10-year-olds that I admired. He wasn't just teaching them baseball. He was teaching them discipline, teamwork, how to handle disappointment. You saw it in the way he spoke to them, firm, but always fair, always encouraging. He lingered for a moment, gathering stray bats and helmets, his movements efficient, practiced. He had that look about him, someone who carried responsibility easily, but maybe carried a little weariness too, hidden just beneath the surface. I saw Leo waving frantically at me from the clubhouse door before disappearing inside. I waved back, a familiar warmth spreading through me. That boy was my sunshine. I shifted my bag on my shoulder, feeling the familiar ache in my lower back. These late practices were getting tougher, especially with the walk back to the far end of the parking lot where I always seemed to end up. The main lot filled up so fast. As I turned to head towards the gate, I heard footsteps crunching on the gravel behind me. "Leaving already, Mrs. Davison?" It was Mark. He'd caught up to me, holding a bucket of baseballs in one hand. "Carol, please," I reminded him, offering a small smile. "And yes, figured I'd start the trek. Leo takes his time showering, gives me a head start." He nodded, his gaze sweeping over the emptying park. The lights gave his face a stark, almost dramatic look. "It gets pretty dark out in that back lot," he said, his voice thoughtful. "Mind if I walk with you? I need to lock the equipment shed back there. Anyway." I hesitated for only a second. It was a kind offer, practical even. The parking lot wasn't exactly dangerous, but it was vast and shadowed, stretching out towards the woods that bordered the park. "Oh, well, that's very thoughtful of you, Mark. Thank you." We started walking together, side by side, through the gate and onto the paved path that wound around the outfield fence. The rhythmic crunch of our shoes on the pavement was the only sound for a moment, besides the distant chirp of crickets tuning up for the night. There was a comfortable silence between us, not awkward, just quiet. I found myself glancing at him profile. He had a strong jawline, softened slightly by the beginnings of evening stubble. There was a focus in his eyes, even now, just walking. It made me wonder what his life was like outside of this field, outside of being coach. "Leo made a heck of a catch today," Mark said, breaking the silence. His voice was warm, genuine. "He's really coming along. Listens well." Pride surged in me again. "He practices constantly," I replied, "throws a ball against the garage door until his dad tells him he's going to knock it down. He loves this game. Mark chuckled, a soft, low sound. You can tell. That passion, you can't teach that. He gets it from somewhere. I smiled, maybe a little from his grandpa. My late husband, George, he lived and breathed baseball. The words hung in the air for a moment. I didn't usually bring up George so easily with people I barely knew, but it felt natural. Just then, Mark didn't offer platitudes or awkward condolences. He just nodded slowly, his gaze thoughtful as we continued walking. It's good he has that connection, he said quietly, something to remember him by, woven into something he loves. His understanding felt unexpected, deeper than polite conversation. We reached the edge of the main lot, the pavement giving way to the uneven gravel of the overflow area where my old sedan was parked under a flickering security lamp. The air felt cooler here, away from the lights of the field. The silence stretched again, but this time it felt different, charged with something unspoken. The gravel crunched louder under our feet as we moved further into the dimness. The security light above my car seemed determined to buzz more than illuminate, casting weak, pulsing circles on the ground. A few other cars remained scattered across the lot, islands in a sea of asphalt and shadow. He talks about you a lot, you know, Mark said, his voice softer now, matching the quiet of the lot. Leo says his grandma Carol is his biggest fan. A warmth spread through my chest, chasing away the slight evening chill. Well, I admitted, my voice a little thick. He's a good kid, works hard. Mark stopped walking as we reached my car, turning slightly to face me. The equipment shed was just a few yards further on, a dark shape against the deeper darkness of the tree. He wasn't quite looking at me, more towards the distant lights of the town filtering through the trees. They all are, mostly, he said, a hint of weariness back in his tone. Just kids trying to figure things out. Sometimes I think we forget that. I fumbled in my bag for my keys, the metallic jingle cutting through the quiet. It's easy to do, I agreed, finally locating them. Life gets busy. We expect so much. I looked up at him, then. In the dim, flickering light, I could see the lines of tiredness around his eyes more clearly. He looked younger than 35 and older, all at the same time. There was a weight there, something beyond the responsibility of coaching a kid's baseball team. You seem to have a good handle on it, though, I offered. The kids respect you. You teach them more than just how to hit a ball. He finally met my gaze, and there was a flicker of surprise in his eyes, quickly masked. He gave a slight, self-deprecating shrug. I try, he said simply. My own dad coached me. Different sport, football. He was intense. He paused, kicking lightly at a loose piece of gravel. Sometimes I try too hard not to be him. Sometimes I worry I'm not intense enough. It was a startlingly honest admission. We were standing by my car, the grandson I adored probably wondering where I was, and here was his coach sharing a vulnerability I hadn't expected. It shifted something between us. We weren't just Leo's grandma and Leo's coach anymore. We were two people standing in a nearly empty parking lot, sharing a moment of unexpected candor. There's a balance, I said softly, unlocking my car door with a click. The interior light flicked on, illuminating my face, probably showing more understanding than I realized. It sounds like you found a good one. Being respected is harder to earn than being feared. He looked at me again, really looked at me this time. A small, genuine smile touched his lips. Maybe, he conceded, it doesn't always feel like it. He gestured vaguely towards the field. Some parents have different expectations. I nodded, understanding immediately. I'd heard the whispers, the sideline coaching, the parents who lived vicariously through their 10-year-olds. It's hard not to absorb that. I said, the pressure? Yeah. He sighed, a sound that seemed to carry more than just the day's fatigue. Yeah, it is. He ran a hand through his hair. My wife used to say I brought it home with me too much. The wins, the losses, the parental complaints. He said, used to casually, but the past tense hung in the air, heavy and sharp. My breath caught slightly. I hadn't known, or perhaps I hadn't allowed myself to think about his personal life beyond the diamond. The atmosphere shifted again, becoming quieter, more fragile. The crickets seemed louder now, filling the space his words had opened. I didn't know what to say, what platitude wouldn't sound hollow. So I just stood there, holding my car door open, waiting. He seemed to realize he'd said more than he intended, his gaze dropping back to the gravel. Sorry, he mumbled, didn't mean to unload. Don't be sorry, I said, my voice quiet but firm. It's all right, Mark. Really? He looked up, a searching expression in his eyes. It felt like he was seeing me, Carol Davison, not just Leo's grandmother, for the first time. And maybe I was seeing him, Mark Miller, the man, not just the coach, for the first time too. The air between us felt thick with unspoken understanding, a shared recognition of life's complexities, its unexpected turns and quiet griefs. We weren't standing in a parking lot anymore. We were in one of those rare spaces that open up between people, sometimes a pocket of quiet acknowledgement in the midst of everything else. He leaned a hand against the roof of my car, the metal cool beneath his palm. Beth, she passed away. Cancer, 2 years ago now. The words were spoken softly, almost carried away by the slight breeze that rustled the leaves in the nearby woods. My heart ached for him. 2 years wasn't long at all. Long enough for the initial shock to wear off, perhaps, but short enough for the absence to still feel like a raw, open space in your life. I knew that feeling. George had been gone nearly 10 years, but some days it felt like yesterday. I'm so sorry, Mark, I whispered, and this time, the words didn't feel inadequate. They felt like all that could be said, offered with genuine empathy. He gave a tight nod, his throat working. Thanks. Coaching helps. Keeps me busy. Focused on something positive. You know, the kids, their energy. I understand, I said, and I truly did. After George passed, throwing myself into helping my son and daughter-in-law with Leo had been my lifeline. Giving love, receiving it back tenfold from that little boy. Focusing on scraped knees and bedtime stories instead of the echoing silence in my house. They keep you anchored. He met my eyes again, and this time the smile reached them. It was a sad smile, but it was real. Yeah, anchored. That's a good word for it. He pushed himself off the car, gently. Well, I should probably go lock up that shed before I forget. Yes, I agreed, my hand resting on the door handle. Neither of us moved immediately. The moment seemed reluctant to end. It felt significant, this quiet sharing of burdens under a flickering parking lot light. There was a mutual respect in the air, an acknowledgement of shared human experience that transcended the roles we usually played. He hadn't unloaded inappropriately. He had shared something true, something painful, in response to a moment of genuine listening. And I hadn't pried. I had simply held the space for him. Thank you for walking me out, Mark, I said, finally breaking the stillness. And thank you for sharing. He dipped his head in a nod. Thank you, Carol, for listening. It's not something I talk about much. Sometimes it helps, I offered gently. It does, he agreed. He gave another small smile, this one a little lighter. Drive safe, okay? You too. And Mark, He paused, already turning towards the shed. Yeah, you're doing a great job, I said, sincerely. With the kids. Beth would be proud. His expression softened completely, then a wave of something deep and poignant washing over his features before he composed himself. He cleared his throat. Thanks, Carol. That means a lot. He turned and walked towards the shed, his silhouette merging with the shadows. I watched him go for a moment before sliding into my car seat. I sat there for a minute, the keys still in my hand, the interior light bathing the small space. The engine was off, the only sound the faint hum of the cooling fan and the distant crickets. The encounter replayed in my mind, the easy silence of the walk, the unexpected turn in conversation, the shared vulnerability under the buzzing security light. It wasn't dramatic, not in the way you see in movies. There was no sudden revelation, no grand gesture. It was quieter than that, deeper. It was the simple, profound act of two people seeing past the roles they played for each other, grandma, coach, and connecting, however briefly, on a purely human level, recognizing the shared landscape of loss, responsibility, and the effort it takes just to keep putting one foot in front of the other sometimes. He hadn't just walked me to my car. He'd walked me into a moment of unexpected grace, sharing his grief, trusting me with that vulnerability, felt like a quiet gift. And maybe my listening, my simple words of understanding had been a gift back to him. As I finally started the engine, the headlights cut through the darkness, illuminating the gravel road leading out of the park. I felt a sense of warmth, a quiet gratitude for the exchange. It wasn't about romance or anything complicated like that. It was about respect, mutual respect, and the quiet discovery that sometimes the people you least expect can offer the most profound moments of connection. Driving home, the streetlights painted fleeting stripes across my dashboard. I thought about Mark carrying his grief and his responsibilities with quiet dignity, pouring his energy into those kids. I thought about myself, finding purpose and joy in my grandson, navigating life after George. We were just two people doing our best. And tonight, for a few minutes in a darkening parking lot, our paths had crossed in a way that felt meaningful. It reminded me that life, even in its ordinary routines, could hold these pockets of surprising depth and connection. You just had to be open to them, willing to listen, willing to see the person behind the role. It left me feeling strangely lighter, more thoughtful. It was a reminder that empathy is a powerful thing, a quiet force that can make even a lonely walk to the car feel like a shared journey. And sometimes that's all you need.